Ma'am, we need you to step away from the register with Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
I'm working. I'm at my job. What is this about?
We have information you may be working without proper authorization.
I'm American. I was born in Flint. I'm literally at work wearing my name tag.
No, you're coming with us.
There's a particular vulnerability that comes with being an hourly worker. You're at your employer's location, on their schedule, performing visible labor that can be interrupted at any moment by authorities who assume that certain people doing certain jobs must be there illegally. On the morning of June 18, 2025, that vulnerability became reality for Destiny Williams, a 29-year-old cashier at a Target store in Ann Arbor, Michigan, when two IC agents walked into the store during her shift, approached her register while she was mid-transaction with a customer, and demanded she abandon her post to verify her immigration status despite her visible employee credentials, her stated U.S. citizenship, and the fact that she was literally in the middle of working a job she'd held for 4 years. The store's security cameras captured every moment, a worker in uniform with a name tag being treated like a suspect, customers witnessing the disruption, and management caught between protecting their employee and dealing with federal agents. What followed wasn't just about civil rights, it was about whether workers have any protection from enforcement actions that disrupt their employment, whether federal agents can invade workplaces without warrants, and what happens when immigration enforcement treats hourly labor as inherently suspicious. By December 2025, the $8.4 million settlement had answered those questions clearly. June in Ann Arbor meant summer fully established, college students mostly gone for break, the town operating at its quieter summer pace. That Wednesday morning was bright and warm, temperature already climbing toward 82 degrees by 10 a.m. The Target store on Eisenhower Parkway was moderately busy, mid-morning shoppers, parents with young children, people running errands before the afternoon heat. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. Destiny Williams was 29 years old, born at Hurley Medical Center in Flint, Michigan in 1996. She'd grown up in Flint during its water crisis, graduated from Flint Northern High School, worked various retail jobs before landing at Target 4 years ago. She'd worked her way from seasonal hire to full-time cashier, had solid performance reviews, good attendance, decent benefits. It wasn't her dream job. She was taking community college classes online, working toward a business degree, but it paid bills, provided health insurance, and gave her stable hours. She was good at the job, friendly with customers, efficient at the register, someone the managers could count on. That Wednesday morning she was working the 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift, assigned to register 4 near the front entrance. She was wearing the standard Target uniform, red polo shirt with her name tag pinned to it, Destiny, team member since 2021. Khaki pants, comfortable shoes for standing all day. Her employee ID badge was clipped to her belt. She looked exactly like what she was, a retail employee at work. The store's CCTV system was extensive, cameras covering every register, every aisle, every entrance. The footage would capture the entire incident from multiple angles, would show Destiny scanning items and bagging purchases, would document the moment when federal agents decided that a black woman working a cash register must be there illegally despite all visible evidence to the contrary. At 10:17 a.m., CCTV timestamp, 2 IC agents entered the store. Special Agent Eric Dalton, white, early 40s, 8 years with IC. Special Agent Monica Reeves, Latina, late 20s, 3 years with the agency. They weren't in uniform but wore vests with IC clearly marked, badges on lanyards. They walked through the store apparently looking for someone, checking faces against something on a phone. Destiny was mid-transaction, scanning groceries for an elderly white woman who was paying with coupons and making small talk about her grandson. The CCTV shows a normal retail interaction, customer and cashier chatting while items are scanned, the mundane routine of hourly work. Dalton approached the register, Reeves behind him. He stood to the side, waiting, then when Destiny finished the transaction and handed the customer her receipt, he stepped forward. "Ma'am, we need you to step away from the register. We're with Immigration and Customs Enforcement." Destiny looked up from her register, confused. "I'm working. I'm at my job. What is this about? We have information that you may be working without proper authorization. We need to verify your status." Working without? Destiny's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. "I'm American. I was born in Flint. I'm literally at work wearing my name tag. Can this wait until my shift ends?" "No ma'am. You need to come with us now for verification." The next customer in line, a young mother with a toddler in the cart, looked uncomfortable. Other cashiers at nearby registers were noticing, customers turning to watch. My manager is right there. Destiny pointed to the customer service desk where her supervisor, Ashley Rodriguez, was processing a return. My employee file has all my documentation. W-4, I-9 Social Security card, state ID. Everything Target requires. I'm not leaving my register during a shift. Dalton's voice hardened. Ma'am, you're being detained for immigration verification. Step away from the register. Detained? I'm at work. I have customers. The line behind the first customer now had 4 people, all watching, some pulling out phones. Ashley noticed the commotion and came over quickly. Excuse me, is there a problem? Dalton showed his badge. We're detaining this employee for immigration status verification. Destiny's been with us for 4 years. She has all her paperwork on file. Her I-9 is current. What's this about? We need to verify her status. She needs to come with us. Ashley looked at Destiny, clearly trying to figure out how to handle this. Can I see a warrant? We don't need a warrant for immigration enforcement. But you need a judicial warrant to search our premises or remove our employees during business hours. This is private property. You're disrupting our operations. Ma'am, if you interfere, you'll be charged with obstruction. The store's general manager, David Chin, had been alerted and arrived. He was a middle-aged Asian American man who'd managed retail for 15 years and clearly recognized the situation was going to be a problem. I'm the general manager. What's happening? Dalton explained again. Chin listened, then spoke carefully. Our employee has proper documentation on file. We verified her eligibility to work when we hired her and at every I-9 re-verification period. She has a social security number, state ID, everything required. If you want to verify her status, you can contact our corporate HR department, but you can't remove her from the sales floor during business hours without a warrant. Sir, we have authority. I understand you have federal authority for immigration enforcement, but this is a private business. You're disrupting our operations, distressing our customers, and threatening our employee. Unless you have a judicial warrant for her arrest or for searching our premises, I'm asking you to leave or to wait until her shift ends. The CCTV captured the standoff. 2 federal agents, a store manager defending his employee, a cashier still standing at her register, customers watching and recording, other employees gathering to see what was happening. Reeves spoke up. Sir, obstructing federal agents is a crime. I'm not obstructing. I'm asking you to follow proper procedure. Show me a warrant or leave the sales floor. We don't need a warrant for administrative immigration detention. Then you don't need to disrupt my business. My employee will be available after her shift. She's not going anywhere, she works here. You can verify her status through proper channels without creating a scene in my store. A customer called out, leave her alone. She's just working. Another voice, this is harassment. The CCTV shows approximately 20 people watching now, customers, employees, some recording on phones. The scene was becoming exactly what retail managers dread, a public incident that disrupts business and creates liability. Dalton made a decision. Ma'am, he said to Destiny, if you don't come voluntarily, we'll have to place you under arrest. Destiny's voice was steady but her hands were shaking. Arrest me for what? For working my shift? For being black and working retail? I haven't done anything wrong. I'm a U.S. citizen. I've told you that. My managers have verified I have proper documentation. What crime are you arresting me for? Failure to provide immigration documentation. That's not a crime. And I don't have to carry my birth certificate to work at Target. My employee file has everything the law requires. Chin pulled out his phone. I'm calling corporate legal counsel. And Ann Arbor police. You're creating a disturbance in my store. Dalton reached for Destiny's arm. Chin stepped between them. Do not touch my employee. The situation was escalating fast. The CCTV shows Dalton's hand on his cuffs, Chin physically between the agent and Destiny, other employees moving closer, customers backing away, children starting to cry from the tension. Ann Arbor police arrived at 10:34 a.m., 17 minutes after the agents first approached. 2 officers entered, saw federal agents confronting a cashier at her register, and immediately recognized this wasn't a normal enforcement action. The senior officer, Sergeant James O'Brien, approached. What's the situation? Dalton explained. O'Brien listened, then looked at Destiny, at her name tag, at her obvious employee status, at the crowd of witnesses recording everything. Do you have a warrant for her arrest? We're conducting administrative immigration detention. That's not what I asked. Do you have a judicial warrant with her name on it? No, but... Then you're creating a disturbance on private property without legal authority to remove an employee from her workplace. The store manager has asked you to leave. I'm supporting that request. You need to exit the premises. We're federal agents. And I'm local law enforcement dealing with a disturbance complaint. You have no warrant. The store manager wants you gone. The employee has stated she's American and pointed to documentation on file. You can pursue verification through proper channels, but you're leaving this store now. The CCTV captures the moment federal authority met local pushback and local one. Dalton looked furious but recognized he'd lost. Reeves looked relieved, she'd clearly been uncomfortable from the start. This isn't over, Dalton said to Destiny. It better be, O'Brien said. Because if you come back without a warrant, I'll arrest you for trespassing and harassment. The agents left at 10:41 a.m. 24 minutes from approach to exit. 24 minutes during which Destiny had been unable to work, customers had abandoned their shopping, and Target had lost business. Destiny was shaking. Ashley took her off the register, walked her to the break room, got her water. Chin called corporate to report what had happened. O'Brien took statements from Destiny, from Chin, from witnesses. Ms. Williams, you should document everything, O'Brien said. Get copies of your employee records showing your I-9 documentation. File a complaint with ICE's oversight office. And honestly, talk to a lawyer. What they did was wrong. Should federal agents be prohibited from workplace immigration raids without judicial warrants? Or should current administrative detention authority remain unchecked? Comment below, because what happened to Destiny Williams raised fundamental questions about whether hourly workers have any protection from enforcement actions that treat employment itself as evidence of illegality. Destiny took the rest of her shift off. She couldn't stop shaking. The adrenaline, the public nature of it, the fear that she might actually be detained despite being completely legal, it was overwhelming. Target's corporate legal team contacted her that afternoon, told her they supported her fully, had all her documentation proving her eligibility to work, and would assist with any legal action she chose to pursue. The cell phone videos hit social media within hours. ICE agents try to arrest Target cashier at work, she's American. Federal agents harass retail worker during her shift. Hashtag Destiny Williams started trending locally, then nationally. The lawsuit was filed July 2, 2025, in the Eastern District of Michigan. Destiny's attorney, Rebecca Winters, a labor and employment specialist who'd handled federal overreach cases before, filed constitutional claims under Bivens against Dalton and Reeves for Fourth Amendment violations, related federal tort claims under the Federal Tort Claims Act against ICE, intentional infliction of emotional distress, interference with employment, and violation of Michigan's workplace protection statutes. The damages sought, $8.4 million. $2.4 million in compensatory damages for the detention, the violation of Destiny's rights, emotional distress, and damage to her ability to work without fear. $6 million in punitive damages designed to punish conduct that violated both constitutional standards and basic workplace protections. The CCTV footage made the case strong. Multiple camera angles showing Destiny in uniform with visible employee credentials, agents approaching her while she was actively working with customers, management defending her and asking for warrants, and the disruption to business operations. Everything documented in high definition from multiple angles. Discovery revealed Dalton's pattern. He'd conducted workplace enforcement actions at 7 different retail locations in the previous year, all targeting employees of color, 5 in front of customers, none resulting in actual deportations because all the workers were legal. His intelligence came from anonymous tips that he never verified before conducting public detentions. When Winters deposed Dalton in September, the exchange was pointed. Agent Dalton, when you approached Ms. Williams at her register, what evidence did you have that she was undocumented? We received a tip. What did this tip say specifically? That there was a worker at that Target who might be undocumented. A worker. Not a name. The tip was general. So you received a tip that somewhere in a Target store with approximately 60 employees, one might be undocumented, and you decided to approach Ms. Williams. Why her? She matched a general description. What description? Female 20s black. Half the cashiers at that Target are women in their 20s. Several are black. Why Ms. Williams specifically? Dalton had no good answer. Did you see her employee name tag? Yes. Did you see her employee ID badge? Yes. Did you consider that someone wearing employee credentials and actively working a register might actually be a legal employee? People can fake credentials. Did you ask Target management to verify her employment and I-9 documentation? No. Did you check E-Verify or other databases before approaching her? No. So you disrupted a business, approached an employee in front of customers, and attempted to detain her based on an anonymous tip that didn't name her, without any verification of the information? I was following the lead. You were conducting racial profiling in a workplace. That's what the evidence shows. Reeves's deposition was similar to other partner testimonies in these cases. She'd been uncomfortable, had followed the senior agent, wished she'd spoken up sooner. Not a defense, just an explanation of how violations happen when junior agents defer to problematic seniors. Target's corporate testimony was particularly powerful. The company's chief compliance officer testified about their I-9 verification processes, their E-Verify participation, their compliance with all federal employment eligibility requirements. Ms. Williams passed every screening we're required to conduct. Her social security number verified. Her identification documents appeared genuine and were accepted by E-Verify. By every measure available to us as employers, she was authorized to work. The IC agents disrupted our business to question documentation that we'd already properly verified. Destiny's testimony focused on the workplace impact. I can't work a register anymore without anxiety. Every time I see someone in official-looking clothing approach, I tense up. Every time a customer stares at me too long, I wonder if they're going to call IC. I'm doing my job, scanning groceries, being friendly, doing everything I'm supposed to, and I'm terrified it's going to happen again. That's not okay. I'm American. I was born here. I have every right to work without fear of being detained in front of customers. Her manager Ashley testified about the disruption to operations and employee morale. After what happened to Destiny, our other employees of color asked if they were safe. They wanted to know if we'd protect them if federal agents came for them. I told them we would, but the truth is I couldn't stop those agents. I asked for a warrant. I asked them to leave. They threatened me with obstruction charges. That made our employees feel vulnerable and unsafe at work. She continued with specific impact data. We had 3 employees quit within 2 weeks of the incident. All 3 were people of color who said they didn't feel safe working somewhere federal agents could approach them in front of customers. We had trouble recruiting for open positions. Applicants asked during interviews if we could guarantee they wouldn't be targeted by immigration enforcement. Our employee satisfaction scores dropped significantly. The incident damaged morale and made our team members feel expendable. Target's corporate HR director testified about the company's perspective on workplace enforcement. We invest significant resources in compliance, verifying employment eligibility, participating in E-Verify, training managers on I-9 requirements. We follow every federal regulation about hiring and employment verification. When federal agents disrupt our workplace to question an employee we've properly verified as eligible to work, it undermines our entire compliance structure. It tells our employees that even when they do everything right, even when we do everything right, they can still be treated like criminals at work. The labor law dimension added complexity. Michigan employment law prohibits employers from creating hostile work environments based on race or national origin. When federal agents target employees of color at their workplace without cause, they create the hostile environment that employers are legally required to prevent. But employers can't legally obstruct federal agents. The contradiction puts retailers in an impossible position. An employment law expert, Professor Diana Martinez from University of Michigan Law School, testified about this tension. Employers have legal obligations to protect their workers from discrimination and hostile work environments. But when federal agents conduct workplace enforcement based on racial profiling, they create exactly the environment employers are required to prevent. The employer can't stop federal agents without risking obstruction charges, but they also can't allow their employees to be targeted based on race without violating employment law. The system creates liability regardless of what the employer does. The settlement negotiations centered on the workplace dimension. This wasn't just a street detention, it was invasion of a private business, disruption of employment, and creation of a hostile work environment for employees of color. The labor law violations added complexity that made ICE's defense more difficult. Winters pressed this angle hard in negotiations. Your agents invaded a private workplace, targeted an employee based on an unverified anonymous tip and racial profiling, disrupted business operations, and created a hostile work environment that caused employees to quit and damaged the employer's ability to recruit. The labor law violations here extend beyond Ms. Williams to impact Target's entire operation. A jury will hear about employees quitting because they felt unsafe. They'll hear about recruitment difficulties. They'll see the CCTV footage of a woman in uniform being threatened with arrest while customers watched. This isn't just a civil rights case, it's a workplace safety case. ICE's attorneys recognized the exposure. The workplace angle made the case more sympathetic to jurors who understood that work should be safe from arbitrary enforcement, that employees shouldn't have to fear being detained while scanning groceries, that proper documentation should actually mean something. The risk assessment was straightforward. Destiny was sympathetic, a retail worker just doing her job. Target was sympathetic, a company that had properly verified employment eligibility being undermined by federal agents. The CCTV was damning, multiple angles of agents approaching an employee at her register in front of customers. The labor law experts would testify compellingly. The employee turnover data would resonate. A jury trial would expose ICE's workplace enforcement tactics to sustained scrutiny. The settlement came November 12, 2025. $8.4 million as requested. $2.4 million compensatory, $6 million punitive. Agreed to November 12, finalized November 27, paid December 10, 2025. All within 2025. Dalton was suspended for 60 days without pay and required to complete workplace enforcement training emphasizing requirements for warrants and probable cause. Reeves received a written reprimand. Both remained employed by IC. Target implemented new protocols requiring any law enforcement seeking to question or detain employees during work hours to present warrants to management first, to conduct such interactions off the sales floor when possible, and to allow corporate legal counsel to participate. The company memo, distributed to all stores in July 2025, was explicit. Team member safety and dignity are paramount. Any law enforcement action that disrupts team member ability to work or creates a hostile environment will be challenged through appropriate legal channels. Other major retailers followed suit. Walmart, Kroger, CVS, and Walgreens all adopted similar policies by September 2025, creating an industry-wide standard that workplace immigration enforcement required judicial warrants except in cases of actual criminal activity. The retail industry, collectively employing millions of workers, had decided that unwarranted workplace raids were bad for business and bad for employee retention. The National Retail Federation issued guidance in October 2025 recommending that member companies develop protocols protecting employees from warrantless workplace enforcement, training managers on how to request warrants and legal documentation before allowing agents access to employees, and documenting any enforcement actions for potential legal challenge. Michigan legislators introduced the Worker Protection During Employment Act in November 2025, requiring judicial warrants for federal agents to detain workers at their place of employment unless there's probable cause of an ongoing crime. The bill had bipartisan support. Conservatives valued property rights and opposed federal overreach into private businesses. Progressives valued worker protections and opposed racial profiling. Governor's signature expected in early 2026, but the legislative action in 2025 sent a message that workplace raids without warrants were politically unpopular regardless of party. Destiny used part of the settlement to finish her degree, to establish a fund supporting retail workers facing discrimination, and to relocate to a different city for a fresh start. She continued working retail. She needed the income and the benefits, but transferred to a different Target in a different town where nobody knew about the incident, where she could scan groceries without wondering if today would be the day federal agents approached her register again. The CCTV footage sits in federal court records showing what workplace vulnerability looks like. An hourly worker in uniform being treated as a suspect based on nothing but demographics and anonymous tips, management trying to protect their employee but facing federal authority, customers witnessing the disruption, and a worker realizing that even proper documentation doesn't protect you when agents decide you look like you don't belong. June 18, 2025, started as a normal Wednesday shift. Scan groceries, bag items, make small talk with customers, earn hourly wage. It ended with a cashier being threatened with detention at her workplace by agents who never verified the anonymous tip that led them there, never checked the employment records that proved her legal status, never considered that a woman in a Target uniform with a name tag might actually be exactly who she said she was. The settlement finalized December 10, 2025. Destiny received payment December 16, 2025. All within the same year. And somewhere in retail stores across America, cashiers of color still wonder if wearing a name tag and scanning groceries is enough to prevent being treated as suspects. though Destiny's $8.4 million settlement proved that when it happens, at least there's a price for turning workplaces into enforcement zones without warrants or cause. If you believe workers should be protected from immigration raids without judicial warrants, and that federal agents who disrupt businesses to profile employees should face more than brief suspensions, subscribe for more documented cases of systems treating hourly labor as inherently suspicious when performed by people of color.